Hey, what is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how to install Windows 10 in VirtualBox. So this is actually really easy to do, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is VirtualBox, of course. So I'll put a link down below, but all you got to do is go to virtualbox.org, and on the home page there's a giant blue download button. Whatever the latest version is will appear right here. You just simply click on that. And you want to choose whatever your host machine is. So since we are on Mac, we're going to choose OS X host. Now you click on that, it's going to download the DMG file, and you install it like you would any other application. Now notice there's also the Windows host and Linux, as well as Solaris. So they're all here, and it works on all the major software. Now the next thing you're going to need is a Windows 10 ISO file. Now this can be done really simply by simply Googling Windows 10 and clicking on the first link that says download the Windows 10 disk image. And when you get to the Microsoft website, all you got to do is select the edition you want and download it. Now I would not choose the October update, I would go with the April update, and then you just hit confirm and you can download it. Now I already have a Windows 10 ISO from another source, so I'm going to be using that one. Okay, so once you get those two things downloaded, you can see the VirtualBox Manager. You should see something similar to this. Now I already have a Windows 10 virtual machine that I use for other things, so I'm going to be creating another one just to show you the process I went through to create that one. So all you have to do is click on New, and it's going to ask you to type in a name. Now I usually just name them after whatever operating system it is, but since I already have one, I'm just going to put, we'll just put tutorial. But yeah, it doesn't matter what you name it. This is the name that's going to show up in this list over here, so make sure you name it so you can easily find it. Now as you can see, it already recognized that it's Windows, and it's Windows 10 64-bit. Now of course you can choose any version of Windows you want, all the way back to 3.1, and any operating system you want. Hit continue. Now this is the RAM that you want to allocate to the machine. Now this is going to depend on how much RAM you have in your computer. So this number may be different for you. I have 16 gigs of RAM, so I can allocate quite a bit of RAM if I wanted to. I would not recommend going over half. I could do 8 gigs if I wanted to, but really Windows runs comfortably on 2 gigs, or even I would say about 4 gigs. But just for this video, I think I'm going to use the 2 gigs that it says right here. I would recommend a minimum of 4, and like I said, a minimum of half too. So you don't want to go over half of your RAM. So we're just going to do the 2 gigs that are default here. Hit continue. Now this is your hard disk. So it's going to recommend you a size of 50 gigs, which you can obviously change that to whatever number you want, and we're going to choose to create a virtual hard disk now. Now this down here is my existing Windows 10 virtual machine. As you can see, I have 70 gigs allocated to that one, but we're just going to leave this by default. Be sure you have create a virtual hard disk now. Hit create, and you want to choose the VirtualBox disk image. That is the best one out of this list here. Hit continue. And you definitely want to do dynamically allocated. So what that means compared to the fixed size is as you fill up space on your virtual machine, it's going to automatically allocate more space on your host machine instead of doing it all at once. So if you choose fixed size, it's automatically going to take out whatever size hard drive you specify. So for example, if I do 50 gigs and I click a fixed size, it's immediately going to take 50 gigs on your host machine and reserve it for the virtual machine. Dynamically allocate it, if I do 50 gigs, what it's going to do is if I only am using, let's say 20 gigs on the virtual machine, then it's only going to use 20 gigs on my host machine. And if I can fill it all the way up to 50 gigs, and then it will not use any more space. So I highly recommend doing the dynamically allocated. Hit continue. So this is the part where you choose how much storage space you want to give it. I'm just going to leave the 50 gigs, but of course you can make this whatever size you want. Just keep in mind whatever storage you have on your host machine. So I'm just going to leave it at 50, but you can leave it at whatever you want to. Hit create, and we now have our virtual machine right there. Now before we power it on, we're going to go into settings and just check and make sure that everything is good to go. So there's really nothing to change in any of these tabs. In your system tab, you can change your RAM on the fly, so that's very nice. You can change your RAM allocation whenever you want to. I don't think we need a floppy disk anymore, so we're just going to uncheck that. These are all good. Your processor, you can choose how many CPUs you want to give it. One CPU is plenty. And nothing in there. Display. So this one, you definitely want to give your virtual machine as much video memory as possible. And if your computer has the ability to do 3D and 2D acceleration, you want to go ahead and check those boxes right there. And then you can allocate more video memory to it. And when you do that, it's just going to make it run a little bit smoother. Now you don't have to do that, especially if you're not going to be doing any graphic intensive things on your virtual machine, but I like to do that just in case. Now if you are not sure, you can always check those boxes, and if your machine is running extremely slow, then just quit it, come back, uncheck that. But you want to make sure that the slider, whatever it is on video memory, is all the way to the right. There should be nothing in here we need to change. Storage, this is where you can mount disk and the ISO file, which we'll do that here in a minute. Audio, nothing there, nothing in our network. Ports are good. Shared folders, this is pretty cool. You can share host machine folders with your virtual machine. And nothing in there. So I think we're good to go. And go ahead and hit OK. It's going to save our settings. And now we're ready to start the virtual machine. So go ahead and click the start button. And it's going to open it up and try to boot. And you're going to get this window that pops up here. So you have to insert the ISO so it knows what to boot off of. So you can click on this little folder right here that says choose a virtual optical disk file. Click on that. And then it's going to navigate you to your typical window here where you search for files. Go ahead and go to wherever you stored your ISO file. I happen to already have mine here, so I'm just going to select it and hit open. And then you can hit start. And now it's going to boot into the Windows installation, hopefully. And here it is. Now this could take a few moments here, so I will come back whenever we get to a screen that we can do something with. Alright, so we are here at the setup process. You can go ahead and click these little X's up here to get those out the way. Alright, so English, US, hit next, and you click install now. And the setup is starting. Okay, so now we're just in the typical Windows setup. So we accept our license terms, hit next. Now you can go ahead and click on the custom install, and the reason why I do that is just to be sure that our drive looks okay. So as you can see, there's that 50 gigabytes that we reserved, and all you have to do now is just click next. And now it is going to do the Windows installation. Now, depending on your machine, this could take a while or it can be very quick. Alright, so it is done installing. Now it's going to restart our virtual machine. And it said right there, you couldn't see it at the top, but it said press any key to boot from a CD. You don't have to do that. So it is finally booted up. Gotta go through Cortana talking, but we are basically in the setup process, the final setup process. So just choose your region. So it just asks about some keyboard layout and stuff like that. Now it's checking for updates, and I'm sure it'll find some, so it'll probably have to update. So we can sign in with our Microsoft account. Now I think it's saying this to me because this is an education version, but I always like to domain join instead, which is like creating a computer account. So I'm gonna click that. But of course, if you want to sign in with your Microsoft account, then go on ahead, but I just choose not to do that. So now I'm basically like creating a computer account. So let's put that as my name. A password, I don't want to use a password. Just finished up a few setup things. It was asking about privacy and all that, you know, typical setup things. I'm sure we're restarting right now, I hope. Oh, never mind, we're doing the typical hi, we're getting ready, everything ready. So after all of those setup processes, we are finally on the desktop. Now, there is one final thing that needs to be done before you can start using your new virtual machine. So if you notice, when I resize this window, it doesn't know what to do. As you can see, it's like down there. It doesn't automatically scale. And same thing happens when you go into full screen mode. And as you can see down there was actually a notification that said searching for the display driver. So you may think that you can just fix this in the settings in Windows 10, but you actually have to do this right here. So if you go to devices, you need to click on the insert guest editions CD image, and when you do that, it's going to mount the VirtualBox guest editions into the virtual machine. So we can just go into the file explorer, and when you get into the explorer, you can go to this PC, and you can see right here next to our local disk we have the guest editions right here. So you can actually just open this up, and when you open it up, you can see there's several different applications down here. There's even one for AMD. So you just want to choose this one right here. Just go ahead and double click it, and it's going to open up the Windows Edition installer. Of course, it's going to ask you, do you want this to make changes? You just, of course, click on yes. And we have the setup window now open. So just click next, hit install. And this is going to fix all those issues, including your screen resolution. You might even notice it flash during this installation. But once it gets done installing all this stuff, it's going to restart. And once it restarts, it'll be completely ready to go. You may get something Windows security pop up here. Just go ahead and click install, it's okay. Alright, so once it gets done, like I said, it wants you to reboot. And I'm actually going to put this in full screen so you can see what happens when we reboot it. So you hit finish, and Windows is going to restart real quick. Now, as you can see, it's booting back in, and it looks like there is no difference on the screen resolution, but just give it a second. Once it boots in, it'll change automatically. Alright, we're on the desktop. Just give it a second for everything to load in, and you'll see the screen resolution automatically adjust. And there it goes. Now it is completely scaled resolution properly, and we now have a full screen. And if we were to do a window, it automatically adjusts and scales the resolution properly. And if I wanted to, I could put it on my secondary display and it would adjust to that one as well. Now one more thing here, if you do plan on using this virtual machine for an extended period of time, you do need to activate Windows. So to do that, all you have to do is go to the Windows settings, and there's a little thing down here at the bottom that says Windows isn't activated. Activate Windows now, and you can click on that, and as you can see, you can click change your product key, and when you do that, you can then add in your Windows product key. Now of course Microsoft isn't handing those out for free, so you gotta obtain one by buying it. But yeah, you just enter that product key and it'll be totally fine. But anyway guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope this helped you out. If you have any questions or something went wrong with your installation or whatever, put them in the comments below and I'll try to help you to the best I can. So guys, anyways, thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I will catch you on the next video.